Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Hey Sara Sara. My name is Siley Raja, and I'll be your host. Hey Sara Sara is a multidisciplinary podcast where I sit down with students, founders, creators, and change makers to explore the stories, passions, and ideas behind what they do. Today, we're joined by Tanmayi, a rising senior, Carnatic vocalist, and the founder of Shruti Music Foundation. She's been training in Carnatic music for nearly 11 years and has used that passion to create opportunities for others through her foundation. Beyond music, she's passionate about science, learning, and community impact. Today, we'll be talking about her musical journey, leadership, and how stepping outside her comfort zone helped shape who she is today. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome to the podcast, Tanmay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start with our first question. So, how did you first get introduced to Carnatic music and what made you stick with it for 11 years?
Well, I was first introduced to Carnatic music through my family because my mom, she used to sing Carnatic music for quite some time. She played the vina, and there are quite a few people in my family who are pretty talented musicians as well. And I feel like because of that sort of exposure, music has always been such a big part of my life growing up. And I remember being drawn to how beautiful it sounded. And as I continued to learn the art, I could hear myself improving year after year. And that feeling of growth and improvement, along with just my love for the art itself, is what really kept me going, I think, for 11 years.
Okay, and for people who may have never heard of Carnatic music before, how would you describe it and what makes it special to you?
Well, Carnatic music, it's a form of South Indian classical music, and it's known for its melodies, improvisation, and the deep traditional values that are rooted in it. And I think what makes it special to me personally is that it just feels so familiar and comforting, but at the same time, every new piece feels so different because even after learning it for so many years, I still come across like different songs and compositions that continue to surprise me. And it always feels like there's so much more to discover.
Okay, and 11 years is a long time to dedicate yourself to something. So, was there ever a point you wanted to quit or where music became especially challenging?
There were definitely times when it felt really challenging, especially like as I moved to higher levels of training, because the music became more complex and it would feel overwhelming a lot of the time. But I think there was one experience in particular that completely changed my perspective on that. I was at my local temple and there was a Carnatic singer performing, and she was incredibly talented. But what really stood out to me wasn't just her skill, it was how completely immersed she seemed in the music she was singing. She just seemed so happy and so absorbed in what she was doing that she didn't even notice people walking by and watching her sing. And seeing someone connect with music on that level, just like it hit me, and it reminded me why I started learning in the first place. And it really showed me that music isn't just about mastering techniques or trying to reach the next level. It's about like actually enjoying and connecting to what you're doing.
Okay, and so you eventually founded Shruti Music Foundation, right? What inspired you to go from being a student of music to creating something that serves others?
Well, after spending so many years learning Carnatic music, I realized how much it had impacted me as a person, and I wanted to share that experience with other people while also creating a positive impact on my community. And I think that's what inspired me to start Shruti Music Foundation. And through music lessons, we're able to introduce students to Carnatic music while simultaneously raising funds for medical causes in our community. And I think being able to use music as a tool for both education and service is what makes this foundation so personally meaningful to me.
That's really cool that you are able to connect it to that. Okay, and what's been one moment through the foundation where you thought, this is why I started this?
Well, for me, it's always been the moments when students will reach out to me after a class and they'll tell me how much they enjoyed it or how excited they are to keep learning. And I think seeing that level of enthusiasm and curiosity in students, it reminds me why I started this foundation in the first place. Because knowing that I've helped someone develop an interest in Carnatic music is just like, it's the ultimate reward for me.
Okay, and so you mentioned that music taught you discipline, perseverance, and patience, right? So which of those lessons do you think has helped you the most outside of music?
Um, Personally, I would say perseverance has helped me the most, because through music, I've learned that improvement isn't something that just happens in seconds or overnight, right? There are plenty of times when things would feel difficult, but I think continuing to practice every day, showing up, that's what paid off eventually. And that's a lesson I've carried into so many areas of my life. And it's taught me to just stay committed to my goals, even when things don't go as planned, and to just stick to the process.
Okay, and so you said you're interested in both music and science, right? Which some people may see as very different. So do you see any connection between those two?
Well, to be honest, I don't think they're as different as people make them seem, because the way you approach them is actually pretty similar if you think about it. Because both of them they require being patient, they both require consistent practice, they require a lot of problem solving, right? In music, you're constantly refining and improving your tunes, and I think the same is true in science, just for more science-based content. And that's probably why I've always enjoyed both. They both challenge, but they also give us the chance to keep learning, growing, finding new things out, right?
Okay, and so you talked about learning to step outside your comfort zone, right? So what was one moment where you took a risk that ended up helping you grow?
I think one of the biggest risks I took was actually starting this nonprofit, Shruti Music Foundation, because when I first had the idea, I honestly didn't know anything about what it took to start an organization. There were just so many things that went right into making it work. It wasn't just as simple as just having an idea and it just being executed. There was a lot of documentation, planning, logistics, and also just like the constant certain uncertainty looming over me of whether people would see my vision the same way that I did. Um, but thankfully, through this entire process, my parents have been incredibly supportive and encouraging. But unfortunately, they didn't have experience with that process of starting an organization either. So, beyond emotional support, I had to figure out a lot of it on my own. And I think there were definitely times when it felt overwhelming. But I think what kept me going was just my drive to create a meaningful impact through music and supporting important medical causes. And looking back, I think this experience has taught me so much about problem solving, taking initiative, and just being resilient in times. And it showed me that you don't always need to have everything figured out before you start. Um, it's just important to be willing to learn and adapt along the way, I think.
Okay, so we're gonna go into our fun segment now. So if you could have dinner with any musician, living or dead, who would it be?
I would probably choose Shreya Ghoshal, because I've always admired how effortlessly she adapts to different styles of music, and like her vocal control is amazing. And as someone who sings myself, I would love to talk to her about her vocal technique, her voice development over the years, which I find fascinating, and what goes into preparing for a performance.
I think she's had concerts in Austin, right? Have you been to one?
Yeah, she does.
Have you been to one?
I'm actually going to one on September 20th.
Okay, okay. Maybe you'll get
Yeah,
to meet her there.
I know,
Okay,
I'm
and
so
then
excited.
second fun question is if you weren't involved in music, what do you think you'd be doing today?
Honestly, I'd probably be doing something science related, because I've always enjoyed science. Because there's always something new to learn, I think, in science, that helps you understand the world a little better. Um, of course, music has been such a big part of my life for so long that it's hard to imagine life without it. But I think I would still be drawn to something that challenges me to keep learning and growing.
Okay, and looking ahead, what impact do you hope Shruti Music Foundation will have, like at least 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I would hope that Shruti Music Foundation has reached many more students, and just helped Carnatic music become more accessible to people who may not have been exposed to it otherwise. And I also hope that we're able to continue supporting meaningful medical causes and just expanding our impact on our community. And more than anything, I hope that this foundation shows something that you're passionate about can be also used to help others.
Okay, our final question. So, if there's a young person listening who's passionate about something but nervous to put themselves out there, what would you tell them?
I'd say take the leap. Take the leap because it's better to try and fail. Like, I can say this from personal experience. It's better to try and fail than to never try at all and regret it later. And I'm not saying you have to have everything figured out before you start because most of the time it does not work out that way. But I think if you're passionate enough about what you're doing, you should give yourself the chance to pursue it. And who knows, you might surprise yourself with what you're capable of.
Okay, and if anyone wants to reach out to Shruti Music Foundation, do you have Instagram, TikTok? What's your
Yeah,
socials like?
yeah, we have an Instagram. It's at Shruti Music Foundation. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll put it on the screen at the end for the viewers if they want to take a look at that. And okay, so thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story. It's been a pleasure learning more about your journey at Shruti Music Foundation, your passions, and the work you're doing to make a difference. And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for having me.